Attempts by some states in northern Nigeria to beef up security in educational institutions have not worked, as the abduction of school pupils and students in the region has ballooned into a lucrative criminal enterprise. This was glaring on Monday following the abduction of over 140 students of Bethel Baptist High School at Mara village in Kaduna State. The latest incident made it the fourth mass abduction of students in the northwestern states in the last 6 months. According to reports, the armed assailants scaled a fence to break into the co-educational college in the early hours of Monday, carting away most of the 165 children that were in the dormitory. Fortunately, 25 students escaped, while 121 are yet to be accounted for. Joining us now from our Abuja studio to discuss efforts by the church and the authorities to rescue the students is Rev John Joseph Hayab, President of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Kaduna Chapter, whose son was one of the 25 students that were lucky to have escaped from their abductors. Good morning, Reverend, and welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you too.
Well, Reverend, good morning. Thank you for joining us. We've been discussing the incident at your son's school, but you are one of the parents involved in this. What's your assessment of the intervention of the state government, if the state government has intervened in any way, apart from expressing concern? And, you know, where are we with this request by the kidnappers that parents should arrange and send food, rice, oil, specifically, for them to be able to feed the students?
Well, the situation in Kaduna State is very unfortunate. This is another kidnap after that of the Greenfield University and the Federal School of Forestry, which directly affects schools. We've had a series of cases of kidnaps in Kaduna State, and what we keep receiving from government is rhetoric, no concrete action. It is sad that our children, our young ones that we are grooming and training to become future leaders, are going through this very terrible experience. When my son arrived home, as young as he is, because he's just 16 now, one thing he quickly said to me is, "Daddy, my concern is the children in JSS 1. Those children are too small to go through these pains." This is the situation. And the bandits are having a field day. Because they are having a field day, that's why they can even make requests and ask us to send them food, rice, oil, and name it. If these bandits are on the run, I don't see them even having the time to ask for those things. The best they can do is to ask or demand for ransom. But because they are having a field day and they know there's nothing we can do than to keep talking, or there's nothing our government can do than to keep talking, governing us by rhetoric than real action, so they will continue to torment innocent parents. I'm familiar with that school because apart from being the CAN chairman of Kaduna State, I am a parent, as you rightly said, and I'm also a Baptist pastor. This school belongs to our church. That's why I took my children there, to identify with my church. Now, I know many of these parents by name, by their home, and I know how difficult it is for these parents to even raise money to pay school fees. The principal will sometimes call me and say, "Chairman, children, school fees have not been paid. How do we do?" Today, these parents are having a situation that not about school fees, but they are to provide food for their children in captivity. They are also going to provide huge money to get their children back home. And all government will tell them is that the governor has been briefed and he's expressing concern. If expression of concern would have healed situation in Kaduna State, I believe by now we're supposed to have been healed. But expression of concern is not enough. We need action. Government supposed to secure us. Some of the excuses given is that the school is not in the city. No, sir. I live in Kaduna. From my house to that school is just 10 minutes. From the NMPC, the famous NMPC junction of Kaduna to that school is just 5 kilometers. That means I can drive in 3 minutes to that place. You tell me that we can secure such a proximity? Something is wrong. If we want to honor and honor truly that we have fair, let's honor so that we find solution. But when we keep denial and keep talking, saying things because we think everybody don't understand, then we may have another one another day that may even be worse than this one.
Well, the bandits are certainly not on the run, as you've observed, because they feel comfortable enough to cook. But hopefully, they're not planning to starve the children, as we've heard from other accounts. Now, can you tell us the name of your 16-year-old son and give us his account? Tell us exactly what he confided in you, what he experienced, because Nigerians need to know what your son witnessed.
My son is Sunday Hayab. My son is 16 years, as you've rightly said. We are hoping by October he will be 17. He is in the final year class. He wrote his JAM on Thursday, and he came out with a good score because though JAM is complaining that people fail, but he had a 207 score. So to me, I'm proud that he did well. The fact that I even moved him to Abuja after the JAM exams, but the school authority called me and asked me to send him back immediately because they need him in school. And I graciously asked his mother to ask him to come over. He came, and I asked my driver to take him to school that very evening. On Monday morning, we got a call that the school has actually been hijacked and students taken over by bandits. The mother was crying, and we were confused. As a man, I tried to be calm. I was making contacts, calling virtually everybody until almost around 4:15 or 4:20. Then I called another person to just alert him about the story. Fortunately for him, he has access to a teacher in school. So he called the teacher, and the teacher now said, "Oh, I have escaped, but my daughter was taken." I can tell you that right in front of me is Rev Hayab's son. That was when we got the good news. But there was nothing to celebrate because though my son escaped, but his colleagues, his schoolmates that he used to come home and talk about are nowhere to be found. His exam that he's hoping to start on Monday, he couldn't start that. Well, he arrived home. I wanted to know from him exactly what happened. The story he told me, some I don't think I want to say them on this medium because I'm reading some denial and I'm shocked that we can go out publicly and deny what is true. But let's take it that way. He told me that he was not sleeping, he was awake, preparing for his exam, and these people just walked in. The first thing they said to him is that "Kwanta," meaning lie down. And he obediently lied down. Then they asked him to move out again outside the dormitory. When he was about to move out, he asked them, "Can you allow me wear my shirt?" They graciously asked him to go ahead and wear his shirt, which he did. When he came out, they asked him to lie down again. This time, they now went to force the other students that were sleeping to come out. So those students coming out forcefully, running out. Well, we cannot explain what happened. He chose to go back into the hostel and just use the same cloth that he wore to present it as if he was drying it. That was simply the cover. For me, I can't even imagine this story, but I realized this is God. And so they couldn't see him. They were pointing their torchlight, but they didn't notice that someone was standing there. Since they have a large student outside, they wanted to move quickly. They moved out with them. I think he noticed some people or a teacher escaping through the back door, so he followed the teacher, and that's just simply how he escaped. He did say to me, and I want to quote so that nobody will say it's a lie, they got a letter on Sunday, a letter written by the bandits, and they showed this letter to their school authority or to their matron, telling him that, look, this is a letter, bandits are threatening to come to our school on Tuesday. But they thought that they were children and they were just afraid to go for exams. And they even shout at him and ask him to keep quiet, shout at them and ask them to keep quiet. They take the same letter to the matron who is in charge of the female student. She also just felt that they were scared of exams. They particularly accused the final year students that they're just scared of exams. And they asked them not to do anything. Simply that was what happened. And then it was not Tuesday, it was on Monday, the bandit came. Other stories, we'll talk about it another time. That was how it happened. Well, he escaped, but we are not at peace because the school where our children find love is now no longer in operation. The young children he used to talk about at home are with bandits. You can imagine how he's going through. Yesterday night, I called him, I just sat with him after work, just to listen to him more and more. When he started telling you the story, you have to say, just hold on, we'll talk another day. Because he is still in shock, he's still troubled, he's still traumatized, so I don't want to force him into telling all stories. But there are stories I've heard from him, and I cannot come publicly and lie about them.
Very sad and shocking just to hear that in a country like this. I want to go back to the letter. They wrote a letter, they showed the matron. I mean, somebody would have thought that with the security situation, any threat whatsoever should be taken seriously. I mean, somebody would have thought that the school authority would at least give it to the next police officer or police station around there. And I'd like to know, What's the next divisional police station or police station, as it were, or village police station around that place that they could have given that letter to and they could have bolstered security? And the fact that you said there's an NMPC, government installation, so obviously I know the NMPC will be protected. Just help me unpack all of this because I don't get it, Reverend.
Yeah, the proximity between that school and the location of the Maraban Rido police station, I can estimate it to be just 1.5 kilometers because I know the place very well. The proximity between that school and the Kujama Divisional Police Station could possibly be around 6 to 7 kilometers. So we have the Maraban Rido, which is just 1.5 kilometers away from the school, and then we have the divisional headquarters of Kujama, which will be around 7 or 8 kilometers away from that school. It is sad. It is just sad. I cannot understand why staffs of the school behave like that. And I think as a pastor who belong to that church, I think our church must investigate those staffs. Why do they think like that? Because I have read so many letters from different communities, and this community took it serious. Why did they not report that? So we must not think that really counts. If they have acted accordingly, for them, this is an African problem. Most time in Africa, we think children are children, so anything they say, they are just lying, or anything they say, they are just saying it out of fear. I want to use this to teach parents that we must learn to respect our children. For me as a father, I must confess, I have learned a lot from Sunday, and I've realized that even the way I think about him, I really do not even know what my son can do. So I'm proud that he did what he did, and I'm proud of what he is telling me, but I'm also worried that his friends are not there for me to hug them the way I hug him.
Well, quickly, Reverend, religion is a very sensitive issue in Kaduna State. And the school that has been attacked this time around is a Baptist school. Do you think that this is a case of religion, or the fact that, as Reverend Samson Ayokunle has pointed out, Kaduna has become the new epicenter, a wasteland where kidnapping has become a business? As Chairman Khan in Kaduna, do you think this is part of that religious conflict in Kaduna State, or we're dealing with just pure criminality overtaking the state?
For me as a leader, I want to avoid jumping to that conclusion, to look at it as a religious thing. I want to see it as criminality, because criminality has become strong and very strong in Kaduna State. 2 years ago, I came out publicly, I cried out. The fact that I came out and did and find out the data of kidnapping. That was the period that Pastor Olamora of Living Faith was killed, and another pastor of Hakan was killed, and another Reverend Father Shokolo was killed, and another Baptist pastor was killed by bandit. The wife of one pastor in Bildingwari who was kidnapped by bandit. The fact is that they collected money and they asked us to come and pick her. When we sent representatives to go and pick her, they collected the money and they told us, sorry, go and pick her corpse in the bush. We couldn't find her corpse for 2 months. We actually just found the carcass after 2 months and buried her around December 2019. We came out publicly and cried out about this. And the fact she was pregnant when this thing happened. We cried out about this. What the government at that time did was to sponsor some people to come and attack us and call us. Because today in Kaduna State, the moment you tell our governor that things are wrong, oh, you are being sponsored by PDP. And I wonder, who is that PDP? If the insecurity of Kaduna is PDP, I knew you first in PDP, brother. So when has PDP becomes the problem? If you don't have an excuse, if you cannot govern Kaduna, just own up. Don't use PDP as a cover. So that was what they did. They tag us name. But gradually, the criminals now find a better ground and understand that the governor will even attack us for saying that they exist than attacking them. So since the governor is focusing on us to accuse us for crying out and then abandoning them, then they had a field day. Before you know what is happening, they move on. Then we even said that from our statistics, 500 Christians were kidnapped. They said, no, we are just trying to blow religious sentiment. Finally, the same government came out to tell us that in the period in review, they had 1,972 people kidnapped. I don't understand this. You see, mixing religion with it may not help, but the reality still stands that there is also a religious part of this whole game, because the people are deliberately trying to inflict pains among us, create fear in us, disrupt the education of our children, and impoverish us. The money we are paying, brother, If we were to use that money to develop our churches, to develop the schools we have, to develop our community, we'll become better people. But we keep paying. This same government that cannot protect us is saying that if you negotiate with bandits, they are going to prosecute you. Unfortunately, the real person here that's supposed to be prosecuted is the man who fails to protect lives and properties of citizens. But because we have a government in Nigeria where the government believes she owns the people, not the people kept her, I think that is where the real problem is in this country. Our government have put fear in us to the extent that you cannot dare say anything. You cannot even cry when you are in pains, and they will come after you. I have said that the last thing you can do is to kill me, but once there is evil, I will cry out as a prophet, because prophets in the Bible were known for crying out once there is evil. You can buy all the greedy young people to insult me, but they won't stop me from crying out when I see my people are in pains, because I'm a responsible father. I will not keep quiet when I know the problem that is going on in my house. So when you ask me about religion, in order not to drag us back to that yesterday, I will say I'm not sure whether it is about religion, but I'm sure that criminals have had Kaduna as a field day. They know that there's nothing the government can do than to talk on newspaper, to talk on television. After that, no action.
Well, what is certainly in no doubt is, as you've said, the government's actions and inactions have encouraged the situation that we find ourselves in today's Nigeria, which leads me to ask you the next question about a gentleman who has been, discussed whenever there's an abduction, unfortunately, Sheikh Gumi. People feel no faith in the government, but some do think that Sheikh Gumi can effect the release of abducted students. Are you of that opinion?
Well, I've had series of meetings with Sheikh Gumi. The church in Kaduna is aware of this, so I'm just saying what I've said to the church several times. I have joined Sheikh Gumi to hold meetings with different important people about this matter. I think the real problem and the mix-up about Sheikh Gumi's intention and what is causing controversy in Nigeria is sometimes if Sheikh Gumi, yes, went to the forest to talk to these bandits as a preacher, because it is expected that preachers should preach to them to understand what they are doing is evil. But when Sheikh Gumi started coming to talk and define their role as no longer criminality, as freedom fighters, I think that's where people begin to have differences with Sheikh Gumi. But honestly, we need more of Sheikh Gumi to go to the forest, preach to the people. If these bandits identify with Christianity, I will also lead many pastors to go and preach to them in the north and tell them what they are doing is not Bible and is evil. But I'm not going to defend them to say anything. There was a time someone was arrested by police, and they took him to police station, and people came to me that I should go and bail him. And I said, what was his crime? And they say he's been accused of giving kidnappers information. And I say, even my biological son, if my biological son is being accused of giving kidnappers information, I will not interfere with the interrogation. I want him to confess the truth, because a criminal is a criminal. A criminal has no brother, has no sister. So I think the mix-up about Sheikh Gumi's role is some of the words that are coming from him as if it is about the people are not this. Well, in reality, they are. Anybody who take the life of a citizen of Nigeria, brother, is an enemy of Nigeria, is a criminal. As a pastor and who has been around for a long time, there is this mix-up. Sometimes we call murderers and arsonists religious rioters in this country. I wonder where we have this kind of idea. An arsonist and a religious rioter is an arsonist and a religious rioter is not an arsonist. An arsonist, don't ever defend him and protect him. A man who set the church ablaze, set the mosque ablaze, there is a law in this land that deals with arsonists. But when we say they are fighting because of religion, no, they are not fighting because of religion. Nobody can fight for God unless God is weak. The God I serve, I cannot fight for him. Anybody that insults God, I know God has what it takes to deal with him. So I'm not there. I can't even attempt fighting for God or attempting to do anything for God. So I will allow God to take care of the person. So the effort of Gumi, to me, if it is for preaching, I'm with him 100%. Okay. But if it is for the change of the nomenclature of those who are causing havoc in Nigeria, I will look at Gumi on the face and say, we disagree in this area.
Okay, real quickly. As a parent, that your son narrowly escaped all of this ordeal, what was your reaction when you heard the governor had to pull his own child out of the school system in Kaduna?
I felt bad about it, for one. If the governor knew that there are threats to schools, and especially the school where his children are attending, The governor should just help the school entirely to either relocate or be secured or shut down. Why should the governor now just remove his son? What the governor simply did was saying, hey, to your tent, O Israel, my child is out. Anything that happened to you, it is you. That is not leadership. I think that is the kind of leadership that we are having, and that's why we are where we are today in Nigeria. The first even moving with the child to the school, to me, it just looks more political than reality. Because when the time came, or when the chips were down, the governor truly shown to Nigeria and to Kaduna State people that he just played politics. He wasn't really serious. Because if there is danger in that school, to show Nigerians and to show Kaduna State people that you are their leader and you are willing to secure them, your child will remain there and you will secure the place so that both your son and the children of other people will be secured. Unless our leaders start treating us as part of them, as one of them, we will continue to have problems. When you now separate your children, remove them, so our children should all go and die. Whatever happened to them is left to us as parents.
Well, Reverend, in the short term, what do you think we need to do to keep our schools safe, particularly in the most affected parts in the northern part of the country? Because as it is, it looks like the bandits and the Boko Haram who do not believe in education are winning the war. And can we really afford to shut down so many schools and keep children out of school out of fear and anxiety?
I will say to you that actually the bandits or the government is helping the bandits and Boko Haram to achieve their goal without carrying a gun. Boko Haram came and said they don't want education. Western education is a sin, and they fought hard to get that. Now that they are not even coming, government is helping them to achieve that by just shutting down schools, no thinking, no good planning. See, Kaduna City and the entire Kaduna State can be secured by government if government is willing and honest about it. Because security is not just in the hands of the police or in the hands of the soldier or in the hands of the SSS. Security is every man's business. How can you secure a state when you already tag some people in your state as enemies? When anybody who tells you, please take care of your things, you will now fight him as if he's asking you to give him what belongs to you. The fact about it is that my governor seems to fight people more than working for people and with people. There are people in Kaduna State who are willing to help because these people live among people and they can easily be dictated and exposed. But people are even afraid to talk because the same government will come after them. So government, simply put, if we want to defeat these people, let's unite Kaduna, turn Kaduna to be our own, for us, with us. And you will see people helping governments, helping security agencies to expose evil. But when you've created fear in the minds of people, no one even is willing to talk. Even we as pastors, our members are afraid to talk because they are feeling, when we talk, our pastor will say it and they will ask him who said it, and now it will come back on us. Just unite the state and we'll overcome evil.
Well, thank you very much, Reverend John Joseph Hayab. Thank you for joining us on the morning show this morning.